Welcome back to Delphi Psychotherapy Billing Software. This video is a discussion of how to transfer existing clients into Delphi from your previous system, whatever that system may be. Many of the people who come to us are coming to us from other softwares that they're quite unhappy with, or they're coming over to Delphi to manage their own practice after having used a billing company that may or may not have done a very good job or might have been expensive or too expensive. This discussion is how to take an existing client that you might have been seeing for some time and how to transfer that person or transfer their financial information into Delphi. Now, in the easiest case, if we just added Hank Aaron to your program, if Hank is a brand new client, then by simply recording his session today, that creates his balance and you just simply run forward from that point in time. However, the real point of this video is to discuss what happens when Hank already owes you money and you want to input his financial history into Delphi. Now, in the ideal situation, you would already know that Hank may have a balance with you of, in this example, $300. That could be for sessions that have occurred in the past weeks or months or even years. And so if we know that Hank has some sessions from December and January, since the setup date for today is the 26th of January, then we can simply input those 3 sessions. So if I click on Record a Session, and I pick his first session that occurred prior to this point in time, back in maybe December 15th, and I click Save This Session, and then I click Record a Session again, and I record the session that occurred on January 1st, and save that session. Or also, I'll record a third session that maybe he came in on January 10. If I save this session, now we have, if we take a peek at his financial history, we have the 3 sessions that he currently owes us for and his total balance owing. And then if we saw him today, by simply clicking on Record a Session and Save, then he would have a balance owing of $400. Now, that's an ideal situation in which you know the sessions, the session dates and the amounts for any past unpaid sessions. This is really an ideal scenario because after today's session, we may receive payments down the road that pay off sessions prior to today. And should we receive an insurance payment for, let's say, $200 that paid off part of the session on 12/15 and part of the session on January 1st, then we could simply apply the money against those individual sessions. This is the ideal scenario. One other quick thing, I'm going to delete the financial history for this particular client. You want to be very careful. This is not a, well, let's put it this way. This is a very dangerous button because we're just simply getting him back to a point where there's nothing in his account. You would never do this once you have actually input a client. But I'm going to put him back to where he's a brand new client. And now the second scenario is that if Hank owes you $300, or let's say even $1,700 for a whole bunch of sessions that have occurred in the past, and you don't really know what those sessions consist of, then we could record a session prior to today's date. Let's pick one day before today. And on the procedure code, we would select an item called Setup for a setup balance. And then the charge would be $1,700. This is one transaction that basically does a balance forward into our system. This is not the ideal way. And also you can state how much of this is Hank's responsibility. We might say that 1,000 of it is his responsibility and that we still think we're going to get an additional $700 from insurance. If I click Save This Session and I go look at the payment screen, then any payments that are received from here on into the future that pay off any sessions that have occurred prior to today's date would be paid against this setup balance. Now I'm going to go to the session history and simply delete this session. Delete the above session, yes, and we're back to square one with adding a brand new client or an existing client to Delphi. Now, if Hank came in for 10 sessions and all those sessions were the same, we could go to record a session. Let's do it with 5 sessions. And if it was always a 90806 at $100 per, then we could click on this little icon next to the word date from, and this brings up a year at a glance calendar. And we could go back and just say Hank has a session from the 2nd, maybe the 9th, the 16th, and the 23rd. And if you click on repeat session with above dates, Delphi will knock down these 4 sessions instantly for you. This would create, in this case, bear with us here, you'll see a little bit of screen flashing. Now, when we look at Hank's account, we have the 4 sessions that occurred in the past, and we have them when we receive payments from insurance or client in the future, we have sessions to pay that against. I'm going to close that, and one last time I'm going to delete the financial history. So, what we very, very highly recommend is that if the balance is somewhat manageable for somebody who returns to your practice, then you should record the sessions. You should record the actual sessions and the dollar amounts for those sessions. So again, record a session. Let me bring this down to a little bit nicer size. Hank may have come in on the 1st for $100. Hank may have come in on the 11th for $100. And Hank may have come in on the 18th for $100. And also, Hank came into the practice today. At this point, Hank has a $400 balance. Again, this is a very ideal situation, and you should strive for this method whenever you have the information available to you. Anytime that we receive any payments, we now have the sessions to pay those sessions against, and we have effectively transferred Hank's balance into the system. Now, if all we know is that Hank came in for $100 today and there was $300 from last year, we could take a different tactic. If I close this screen and go back to the starting point of deleting his financial history, I could set up a record a session for 12/31 of the previous year for setup, and that would be for $300. And then I could record Hank's session today. Now, if I look at his payment screen, any payments that I receive against transactions that occurred last year, I apply against this setup balance. If I receive a payment from Hank today, a copay, I could have paid that against this session. Or if I received an insurance payment in February that partially paid some of the sessions from last year, I could pay off that $300 balance as I see fit, and then pay whatever was paid against the session that occurred on 1/26 if that was the case. So there's your discussion of how to transfer balances into Delphi.